We mentioned before the break that Mike Pritchard is the host of Betting Across America on VSIN. We've all watched it. Our last guest, Tori Gurley, is on that program as well. He joins us from Sin City, and let's bring him in. 9-year NFL veteran. Mr. Pritchard, how you doing today, sir?
Rod, John, I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
100%. You sound like $1 million, by the way. Mike, listen, before we jump into winners and losers from last night, if you don't mind, can you please give me your read on the Aaron Rodgers news yesterday? Because we saw it break, and then there was very little talk about it last night because the focus was on the draft. What's new today?
Right. You know, my read on it, guys, is that it was orchestrated, kind of calculated by Aaron Rodgers. I think if you wanted to have the most effect that you could possibly do it right before the NFL draft, one of the biggest events on the calendar for the National Football League. The words that stood out to me is that he's disgruntled. So it's not about money with Aaron Rodgers. I think it's about the organization. It's about the direction of the team, and he's unhappy with that. So he's trying to exercise his power. Now, there's a debate whether players should do that or not, but I think from Aaron Rodgers' standpoint, he went through this with Brett Favre on the other side when he got drafted into the National Football League, and he kind of sees it happening to himself with his own career. So I think he just wants more control over any situation that he can have control over.
Yeah, but where do you fall on that? Because we've seen that with Jalen Ramsey and Ngakoue, Deshaun Watson before he fell in trouble otherwise. I mean, you survived 9 years in the league, Mike. How do you feel about players forcing their hand? I mean, Aaron's got a lot more leverage than your average Joe, but do you think they should be able to pull this?
Well, you don't have control over your career the older you get into the National Football League. And Aaron Rodgers is a prime example. Here's a guy that just won MVP, but yet the team still drafted his heir apparent, Jordan Love, in the first round. And so if you're Aaron Rodgers, and believe me, guys, I mean, if you're a quarterback in the National Football League, you're an alpha. And you want to remain the alpha. You don't want to have any questions about somebody taking over your job or when are they going to replace you. And so from a quarterback standpoint, and I played with Elway, I played with Warren Moon, some really, really great players and alphas and Hall of Famers. They don't want any type of indecision. They want to know where they stand. And I think that's what Aaron Rodgers is trying to do here. And he's exercising some power, some leverage, and maybe just wanting to go to a different location. It's worked for Tom Brady. It worked for Peyton Manning. It worked for Kurt Warner even, as he was able to get to the Hall of Fame by playing with other teams. So I think Aaron Rodgers is in the same boat in terms of just wanting to end the career or end his career the way that he wants to.
Man, we got a million questions for you, Mike. You're good, man. I can see why you and Tori are a hit there on. Well, and by the way, Tori's predicted this will end in a trade. The GM of the Packers saying, well, the GM saying we're not going to trade him, but I think, hey, throw Jordan Love out there. They can survive without Aaron Rodgers. So there's the two-part question: how does this end, and what's life post Aaron Rodgers like in Green Bay?
Well, they're going to have to move on just like they did from Brett Favre. And I got drafted the same year Brett Favre did. We both landed up in Atlanta. And Brett Favre got traded to Green Bay, and the rest is history. He's a Hall of Famer. They drafted Aaron Rodgers. Brett Favre went on to New York, the Jets, then certainly with Minnesota, almost got to another Super Bowl. So I think that's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to get traded. There's a salary cap situation to where if they trade him prior to June 1st, then the dead cap money, the situation against the salary cap for Green Bay is severe. So they'll probably wait until after June 1 of this year to maybe entertain any type of trades that could be out there. I think the Denver Broncos want Aaron Rodgers in the worst way.
Draft recap from round one in a moment, but first, Ryan McCarthy is watching in Saratoga, New York, and he says, question for Mike, does he still talk to Bill McCartney? If so, how is Coach Mac doing these days? What's the story on Bill McCartney? Who is he, and what's the connection?
Bill McCartney was the head coach at the University of Colorado when I was there. He recruited me, and he's been a mentor. He's been a guiding light for me most of my adult life and all of my life, really, since I was a kid at 17 going to the University of Colorado until now at 51 years old. And, yep, Coach Mac, he's still in Boulder riding his bike and enjoying life right now. Great grandkids. Family is so important to him right now. If, some people might remember him from the Promise Keepers that he kind of started up, beholden to the family. He did that for a while, but he's enjoying retirement, still a Buff fan. Still a football fan. His sons he's got a couple of sons that are coaching. He's got one son who's an agent, NFL agent. But we keep close tabs on Coach Mack, and he's doing well.
Awesome. Go ahead, Frenzy.
Yeah. What do you think really is going to happen here, Mike? Something's got to happen fairly soon, I think. It's got to be very frustrating for the Packers, because they really don't have a quarterback.
Right.
Jordan Love hasn't played it down. So what are they going to do? Or go to the list and see who the free agents are, or try to bring somebody else along, or what? Maybe going to draft a quarterback. They're going to go for a quarterback right now in the draft because they know they have to.
It's fascinating, really, to think about, because I think Aaron Rodgers is calling their bluff right now. Like, they drafted Jordan Love to take over for Aaron Rodgers someday. And Aaron Rodgers is saying, okay, someday is now, because I want out of here. So I think whether or not Jordan Love is ready, we'll have to wait and see. But for Green Bay, they're probably going to ask for some type of compensation with the trade with Aaron Rodgers to receive a quarterback in return. And so, for instance, if it's the Denver Broncos, could they send Teddy Bridgewater, who they just acquired? Could they send him as a bridge to Jordan Love to kind of help ease that transition from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love? I mean, that's something that I'm sure is on the table right now.
Mike Pritchard with us from VSIN, Betting in America in Las Vegas. Mike, just back to last night. What did you enjoy? I mean, you enjoyed everything, but what stood out to you from round one in Cleveland?
I tell you what, the whole draft, the entire draft, because from a betting perspective, which we were able to do, we were able to cash some tickets as some of the picks and some of the predictions came true. But then just the intrigue about teams wanting to select players that they were so enamored by. Like, for instance, Chicago. We, during the show, Betting Across America, we talked about it on the show in which we heard that Chicago wanted to trade up if there was a particular player available. And certainly it turned out to be Justin Fields, right? So here's the Chicago Bears that just vault up into the draft and go get the quarterback that they wanted. Same thing with the Jets. Not only getting the quarterback, but they traded up to get an offensive lineman too to help out the quarterback. So I thought the Jets were aggressive, which was helpful. Parsons going to the Dallas Cowboys, the emphasis on linebacker showed up too. We saw a lot of receivers go. Jamar Chase go to Cincinnati. As high as he did. So there's a lot of excitement about the NFL right now because of all the scoring, the elevated scoring, the points on the scoreboard, and a lot of players that got drafted, they're going to help produce that as well on Sundays.
Okay, what about that really strange one I thought with San Francisco 49ers making the big switch, going for a guy who's played 19 games the last 2 years.
I thought you liked that pick, Lynch.
He looks terrific, but can he absorb what he's got to absorb to be a quarterback in the National Football League right away? I mean, isn't he going to be very confused?
You're talking about Trey Lance there? Yeah. You know what? He's 20 years old. He'll turn 21 next month here in a matter of weeks. I think so. When you draft a guy like this, you're drafting him because someday he's going to be great.
Someday.
Now, I think someday, right. So the 49ers, they're hoping that someday, because they still have Jimmy Garoppolo, someday is going to be next year or the year after. So they feel like when you draft a kid like this with a tremendous upside, then you're planning for the future. But right now we don't need him. So it's a learning curve that needs to be flattened for Trey Lance. And I think, he's got one of the best play callers in the National Football League in Kyle Shanahan, who's the head coach. So he'll have some time to kind of move into that role to become the franchise quarterback after Jimmy Garoppolo.
He's got an awful lot to learn, hasn't he, in the next 2 years?
Yes, he does.
Mike, I got to ask you, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about VSIN. I mean, we're all familiar with it here, betting guys, Vegas Sports Information Network, owned by Who's your buddy? Brent Musburger, correct? He's the president?
Brent Musburger, absolutely. Well, Brian Musburger, we have a great group. I got brought aboard, I want to say 6 months ago now, maybe 7, even more. But it's been enlightening to me. I heard about and I knew about VSIN from Mitch Moss, Paul Howard, Matt Humans, who have been with the network for a number of years. And I was always intrigued by it. Playing in the National Football League, I couldn't bet on sports. I was told that it would hurt the shield, and that you can face some offenses if you participated in sports betting as a player. So I stayed away. I'm from Vegas, and I kind of stayed away from the sports books. But now that the NFL has kind of partnered up with sports wagering and certainly some impactful casinos around the world, really, it's been enlightening. My eyes are open now, and so I've kind of partnered up with the gaming industry as well, and have taken a look and a certain level of enjoyment now with sports wagering, and so. Using some knowledge that I have as a player, some experiences as well, it's been a fun ride so far working with VSIN.
Well, I think it's an awesome fit for you from what I've gotten to know from you today, and Tori Gurley as well. And, Tori is working with VSIN. And if you don't mind, you want to hear a quick story? Lynch, you've teased this, but John, I never heard this. This guy called Saskatchewan Roughriders games for how long, Lynch?
Since 1969.
Going back a ways.
50 years, over 50 years.
Yeah.
What Brent Musburger was in your living room, Lynch? How did that story come about?
Musburger was in my living room. He was in Regina. He was doing something with horses in Saskatchewan. We have a great horse producer and horse person in Rollo, Saskatchewan, where I come from. They bought the horses to Regina. Musburger came there. It was ABC Sports. He was there alone. And I met him, and we were there for a full day together. That's about 1954, something like that. And I thought he was a terrific guy. I would love to see him again. So you can mention John Lynch to him and see what he said and let me know. I'd be very interested if he remembers me.
Yeah, he'll say, general manager of the 49ers. Okay. That's what he'll say probably. But anyway, I thought it was a football story. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, Brent is a legend. Even as a college athlete, I was asked, had Brent ever called any of your games? And I can't recall if he did or not. And then when I was in the National Football League, I remember him from CBS, of course, and he's just a legend, right? And so I was hoping that he did, because my father recorded pretty much every game that I played in, and I would absolutely love to hear Brent Musburger calling one of my games. So I'm going through the research right now, which is a lot of tapes. But we get to hear him calling games for the Raiders out here in Vegas, and we know why he's a legend. And he's just incredible.
Awesome, man. Well, so are you, Mike. I appreciate the time. Next time we're in Vegas, hopefully we can hook up and enjoy the rest of the draft. And I appreciate the time today.
Thank you, guys. A pleasure for me to be on with you, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Mike Pritchard from Betting Across America on VSIN, Vegas Sports Information Network.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.